The abandoned space station. In an orbit forgotten beyond the asteroid belt, there lay a space station long silenced, severed from any communication with Earth. The last transmission, a cryptic and desperate SOS, had arrived months ago, followed only by emptiness. An elite rescue team, led by Commander Alexei, was dispatched to investigate, navigating through the stars in their ship, Hope. As they approached, the station presented itself as a metallic carcass floating in the darkness, its modules and antennas extending like the fingers of a dead hand. The silence was oppressive, broken only by the soft hum of the ship's systems. Preparing for the unknown, the team donned their spacesuits, armed themselves with the finest in technology, and transitioned to the station through an emergency hatch. Inside, they were greeted by dark, abandoned corridors, lit only by the intermittent glow of emergency panels. The air was cold, laden with the metallic scent of burnt circuits. Splitting up to cover more ground, they began the search for survivors, any sign of life, or whatever had caused the silence. It didn't take long for them to find the first signs of calamity. Overturned rooms, strange markings on the metal walls, and most disturbingly, the total absence of crew. There were no bodies, no signs of struggle, just emptiness and silence, as if the station had swallowed its inhabitants. When they accessed the data core, the truth began to unfold. Blurry images and fragmented records showed the crew fighting against something they couldn't see, their tools and systems turned against them in impossible ways. An alien life form, capable of manipulating technology in the environment, had taken over the station. The mission immediately shifted from rescue to survival. With the entity now aware of their presence, systems began to fail, doors shut abruptly, and oxygen became a rare commodity. The team was forced to move cautiously, communicating through gestures and notes to avoid detection. The team, now aware of the true danger they faced, intensified their efforts to combat the entity. Each member, armed with devices designed to interfere with electronic systems, advanced through the labyrinthine corridors of the station, following the trail of distortions and failures left by the creature. It was a hunt in reverse, where the predator became the prey as they attempted to isolate the entity in a controllable sector. During the confrontation, they discovered the entity was not only a manipulator of technology but also capable of creating illusions, distorting reality around them. Corridors that seemed clear suddenly closed off with non-existent walls, and sounds of crew members calling for help echoed, attempting to divert their attention and split the group. But, with ironclad determination and trust in one another, they managed to maintain focus, using pre-established signals to differentiate reality from the entity's deceptions. The battle culminated in a direct confrontation in the communications core, where the entity had grown strong, feeding off the energy in data present. The team used an improvised electromagnetic pulse field, hoping to neutralize its manipulation abilities long enough to purge it from the systems. It was a moment of extreme tension, with the station trembling under the conflict of forces, as they attempted to reprogram the core to isolate and, ultimately, eradicate the alien presence, ensuring the safety of the mission and, possibly, Earth itself. But the plan failed. The entity somehow followed the crew's movements and avoided the first trap. In a desperate act, they decided to set a new trap for the entity, using one of the modules as bait. The plan was simple: lure the entity to the module and then disconnect it, launching it into space, hoping the creature would be on board. As they prepared the trap, Alexei and his team realized the entity was not only hunting them but also learning from them. Each trap, each strategy, only made it more cunning. It was a war of wits, in which humanity was at a disadvantage. The situation reached a climax when, during the preparation, the entity took full control of the station, initiating a countdown to self-destruction. The team now had two objectives: survive and prevent the station from destroying itself, which could potentially launch the entity into space, toward Earth. With time running out and their options dwindling, they executed a bold plan. Utilizing the little control they still had over the station's systems, they concentrated all available energy at a single point, creating an overload they hoped would be enough to temporarily incapacitate the entity. The explosion of light and heat generated by the overload was so intense it temporarily blinded the entity's surveillance cameras, offering the team a precious window of opportunity. Running through the twisted corridors of the station, they guided themselves more by memory and instinct than by sight, each step echoing as a testament to their determination to survive. The sound of the structure contorting under the pressure of implosion began to intensify, a symphony of metal against metal, signaling the imminent end of the station. Alexei led the group, maintaining a pace everyone could follow, despite the heavy artificial gravity attempting to pin them to the ground as if the station itself wished to retain them. Control panels sparked and exploded around them, victims of the interference caused by the entity in its last-ditch efforts to stop them. Each obstacle overcome brought a wave of relief, but fear persisted, fueled by the possibility that the entity could regain control before they managed to escape. Upon reaching the escape module, they found the path blocked by debris caused by the station's structural instability. With time rapidly running out, the team mobilized in a frenzy, removing the obstacles with a combination of brute force and improvised tools. The sound of implosion became deafening, a constant reminder that every second lost brought them closer to the abyss of death in space. Finally, after clearing the path and entering the escape module, Alexei took the controls, launching them back to hope with an urgency that left little room for hesitation. The mothership, positioned at a safe distance, now seemed like a distant savior. As they moved away, the sight of the station imploding in the ship's rearview became a striking image, a blend of terror and relief. The team barely had time to process their narrow escape before preparing for the journey back to Earth, aware that they had narrowly escaped a grim fate. As they distanced themselves from the now destroyed station, the team shared a charged silence, mixing relief with the weight of loss. However, their sense of victory was abruptly interrupted when the onboard instruments began emitting urgent alerts. Alexei, the commander, approached the panel, his eyes widening as he processed the information that defied logic and the hope they had left. The sensors of hope, designed to detect matter and energy in motion in space, captured a signature that should not exist, a form that persisted against all expectations. The entity, in some unimaginable way, had survived the station's implosion. Worse yet, it was using the debris as a vehicle, propelling itself toward Earth with a speed and trajectory that defied known physical laws. The team watched in horror as simulations projected the entity's inevitable arrival in Earth's orbit. Communications with ground command became frantic, a mix of technical reports and desperate pleas for a solution. Earth, in turn, mobilized orbital defenses and prepared contingencies, but uncertainty permeated every plan. How to combat an entity capable of manipulating technology and matter to this extent? In the days that followed, as hope raced against time to return, the entity reached Earth's orbit. The first interception attempts were futile, their missiles and lasers diverted or deactivated before they could even approach. Then, without warning, the entity began its descent, penetrating the atmosphere in a blaze that was observed around the world. Contact was lost with the tracking stations in its path, each failure marking its relentless advance toward the surface. The world watched, paralyzed by fear and fascination, as a new form of terror approached. The entity, now not just a distant threat in space but a real and imminent presence, promised a confrontation whose outcome could redefine human existence on Earth. In that final moment, the hope of an easy victory faded, giving way to the grim reality that the battle for humanity's survival was just beginning. Dare to venture into the unknown. Join us on a journey where shadows whisper and secrets lurk. Subscribe now and ring the bell to summon fresh mysteries directly to your screen every few days. Ignore this call, and be warned, an eternal curse awaits those who wander in the dark, unguided. Do you have the courage to face the unknown? Your adventure begins with a click. Welcome to the realm where every notification brings you closer to the abyss. Subscribe, if you dare.